Alright guys, so in today's video, I have here a very exciting 2-in-1 that I want to share with you. It's actually called the ASUS ProArt PZ13. And as someone who has used a ProArt laptop before, I was actually very excited to check out how this 2-in-1 will actually work, where you can actually use the device as a tablet or as a laptop. Now, not only that, this device is powered by the Snapdragon X Plus chipset. So again, I'm actually very excited to see how this fares up, for someone who does a lot of content creation on a daily. So let's check it out. Now, first things first, I want to start off with the package that ASUS Malaysia is actually providing, which is quite a fair bit. Now, the entire package consists of obviously the tablet, the keyboard, the pen, the kickstand, but they're also throwing in the free backpack, which I think is a very nice deal. So yeah, you're getting essentially everything in one single package. Now moving on, let's take a closer look at the device itself, and I want to start off with the design. Now let me just pull this away here and unsnap the magnetic stuff. Alright, so just in terms of the design, I personally think that this is a very handsome device. Now you can see that it's completely matte out at the back and it's in this really nice matte black finish. ASUS actually made this surface more resistant to fingerprints and smudges, and I think it does works really well. So if you are the kind of person who has a lot of sweat whenever you hold onto your tablet, good news, there's not a lot of smudges at the back of this guy. Now if you take a closer look furthermore, you notice that we have a couple of ports over here. There's two USB 4 Type-C ports, and one is actually hidden inside here. And there's a flap that's also covering the SD card slot. Yep, you do have an SD card slot on a tablet with this. So pretty clever, and the reason why they actually have this flap here is because this is an IP52 rated device. That means that it blocks it off from some kind of dust as well as a couple of light splashes. Maybe if you get it under the rain, like light rain, it will not actually get damaged, but definitely don't bring it into the shower to watch your movies. Now moving on, in terms of the speakers, we do have stereo speakers on board that do get fairly loud. And if you look closely at the back panel here, you notice that there's a tiny gap, and that's because it allows air to actually flow through to keep everything cool. Speaking about that, it doesn't get warm at all. It's actually a very cool device, and you also get a 13 megapixel camera at the back over here. Now, if you're wondering about the front-facing camera, it is a 5 megapixel unit that's good enough for your video calls. Alright, so that's just in terms of the design. Now let's talk a little bit about the accessories here. So let's start off with this kickstand. The magnets are actually very, very strong, and there's actually sort of like a rich kind of feeling at the back here. It feels very premium in my opinion, and I love this colorway. It looks like olive green to me because it just gels with my entire setup. The keyboard itself is also very easy to attach because we have very strong magnets, and once all that is done, you have that laptop setup. Now speaking about this, let's talk a little bit about the keyboard over here. The keys themselves provide decent travel, and what I like about the trackpad here is that it's very spacious. It is a glass one. That means everything is actually very smooth to operate on the trackpad itself. You won't really need the mouse. Now ASUS has also implemented a couple of cool features directly into the trackpad. For instance, if you just slide on the left side, you can actually increase or decrease the volume. And if you just slide on the right, you can actually increase or decrease the brightness. So there's quite a fair bit of shortcuts that's actually implemented into the trackpad, which I think is very clever because it makes the user experience even better. Alright, we're going to talk about this tiny pen. But before that, let's talk a bit about the display at the front. Now what we are getting here is actually a 13.3-inch 3K OLED display that's actually fairly bright and very vibrant. Now if you're going to be watching a lot of shows, or if you're going to be editing your photos, you are definitely going to appreciate an OLED display like this. I had an OLED display on my previous ProArt laptop as well. Now in case you want to tune and calibrate the display, you can actually do that in the ProArt Creator Hub to get your entire setup done, and you can also manage the kind of performance that you want to extract from this device directly from the Creator Hub as well. Now the display itself is touch sensitive naturally, and it refreshes at 60 Hz, good enough for this kind of form factor. Now how does it feel like to write and draw on this device? As someone who actually does a couple of light sketching and writing of notes, I found that the latency on the pen itself is actually fairly low. So it's actually quite true to like one-to-one. I wouldn't say it's exactly like writing on a piece of paper, but yeah, I was able to write down a lot of notes very quickly. And again, there's a couple of shortcuts that you can use, like circling stuff and actually moving that around here and there to wherever you want on the page. Now drawing is also quite a nice experience because of that low latency, and I was able to sketch out a couple of stuff very quickly on the ASUS ProArt PZ13. So if you are someone who actually uses the pen quite a lot to do your notes or light sketches or even presentations, this is actually something that you might want to consider. Now let's talk a little bit about the performance. Alright, like I said earlier on, this is a Snapdragon X Plus platform. Now just in terms of where we can rank this chipset, if you have watched my previous smartphone reviews, I always say that there's a flagship, mid-range or a low-range processor. So right now for the Snapdragon chipsets, there's a Snapdragon X Elite as well as Snapdragon X Plus. Now the X Plus is not as powerful as the Snapdragon X Elite processors, but where it actually gains on is in terms of the battery life. So this device here actually boasts one of the longest, the strongest battery lives on any laptop that I've ever used. So imagine this, on a traditional laptop, you might get 3 to 4 hours of usage, but this guy here can go through an entire day or maybe more than a day if you're not using it that heavily. So the battery life is very strong and has been proven by other reviewers as well. Alright, moving back to this, we also have Wi-Fi 7 support, and personally, as someone who has a Wi-Fi 7 router at home, I must say that the internet connection speed has been super fast and stable throughout my entire use. Now, if you talk a bit about editing, since this is a ProArt device, as a content creator, me personally, I edit a lot of content in 4K, especially the one that you're seeing right now. I would say that if you are a content creator, this device here is more suitable for lightweight editing. So say for example, if you're doing like Instagram Reels or your TikToks, you can definitely edit them on this PZ13. But if you're going for the more powerful like 4K or maybe even 8K content, maybe you might want to check out a more powerful ProArt series. So that's basically what you can expect from the ASUS ProArt PZ13. Now, in a nutshell, who do I think this device is actually designed for? Again, like I said, if you are a budding content creator, if you do some lightweight working, if you want a device in this 2-in-1 kind of setup where you can use it as a tablet or a laptop, you might also want to check this out. More importantly, I would say that a very strong pulling factor from this device is the 3K OLED display because it's just so beautiful, and of course that super strong battery life that can pull you through an entire day on just a single charge. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on the ASUS ProArt PZ13. Thank you for watching today's video all the way to the end as always. Don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel to see more content like this, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Do take care, stay safe, and bye-bye.